Hi, everybody. Today, we embark on another fascinating journey into the dark world of true crime stories. Get ready to investigate, discover, and reveal the secrets of a scary and dramatic case. Are you ready to embark on this thrilling investigation? Let's get started now. J.B. Beasley and Tracy Hollett, 17-year-old best friends, set off on the last day of summer vacation on July 31st, 1999. They planned to go to Headland, Alabama, to celebrate IB's birthday, but they got lost. And got a phone call. Their mother from Ozark, around 11:30 p.m. Tracy told her mother that they were going home. J.B. and Tracy stopped at a gas station in Headland to get directions to a birthday party they were about to attend. J.B. and Tracy have been friends since high school, so they talked on the phone for a while before getting back in the car and continuing their journey. However, unbeknownst to them, at approximately 10:30 p.m., while driving to the party, they became lost in a rural area near Ozark, Alabama. They called their friends for help, but when they arrived at the party around midnight, they realized they would never have found it without their friends. After the party ended, around 11:30 p.m., Tracy called her mother to inform her that they were coming home. Tragically, neither girl made it home as their lifeless bodies were found the next day in the boot of their car, sparking long debated questions about what might have happened. Out with them. The gruesome double murder of two high school students left the community baffled for years afterward. J.B. Beasley, born July 31st, 1981 in Troy, Alabama, is the daughter of Cheryl and Hilton Lanier Beasley. After her parents separated, she moved to Dothan with her mother in 1984 and grew up in a loving home with 4 sisters. J.B. is an outgoing and active young woman who participates in various activities such as cheerleading, dancing, piano, and swimming, and even models for several companies with her sisters. Besides her hobbies, she also enjoys hanging out with friends and family. In high school, J.B. met her fellow cheerleader, Tracy Hollett, and it didn't take long for the two to become close friends. Tracy Hollett, born March 3, 1982 in Dothan, Alabama, is the daughter of Carolyn and Robert Hollett. Tragically, her father, who worked at the Dothan Police Department, passed away when Tracy was 5 years old. Her mother later remarried a man named Mike Roberts, who helped raise Tracy along with her 2 younger brothers. Unlike the outgoing J.B., Tracy is a bit shy, but she is known for her protective nature and responsibility like an older sister. As 2 best friends enter adulthood, they are unaware of the terrible fate that awaits them on that fateful night in July 1999. The mystery surrounding their deaths has captivated the community and sparked a long-running debate about what might have happened to the young girl on her way to the birthday party. The girls stopped at a gas station in Ozark, Alabama, which was called the Big Little Store, even though it was closed at the time. Tracy called her mother from the store's payphone and informed her that they had gotten lost and ended up in Ozark and were now planning to return home. At the same time, a woman named Marilyn Merritt and her daughters stopped at a gas station to buy soda. The girls then asked Merritt for directions back to Dothan, and Merritt did his best to explain the way. Merritt later recalled that the girls looked beautiful and polite, and that their car was clean and tidy. She remembered seeing the girls exit the parking lot and turn right, just as she had directed them. However, J.B. Beasley and Tracy Hollett can never go home again. Around 8 a.m. the next morning, August 1st, 1999, Tracy's mother called the police to report her daughter missing. It didn't take long for the police to find the first clue about the girls' whereabouts. Later that day, after Tracy was reported missing, police successfully located JB's car parked on Herring Avenue in Ozark. The strangest thing was that even though I had filled the gas tank the day before, the tank was almost empty. The car was covered in mud. The driver's window was partially rolled down, but the door was still locked. However, police found no signs of forced entry into the car. Inside the car, JB's driver's license was on the dashboard, and both girls' personal belongings were still inside, along with their cash. The only known missing item is JB's car keys. A fingerprint was found on the locked trunk lid, giving police a hunch that something was horribly wrong. Examining the scene, police theorized that the locked chest could provide them with important clues. But without the key, they could not open it. It took them 6 hours to discover that they could open the trunk with the help of the internal latch without needing a trunk key or a locksmith. When the police opened the trunk, they discovered something macabre, the lifeless bodies of 2 girls stuffed inside. Both girls were fully dressed, but their pants were dirty from the waist down. Tracy was shot once in the temple, and JB was shot once in the right cheek. Tracy had a 9mm shell in her leg, had scratches on her arm, and her jeans had spikes on them. On the contrary, JB's clothes were dirty, especially her newly purchased shoes. Authorities concluded that the teens were killed execution style, most likely inside the trunk of the car. Although robbery was initially considered a possible motive in the early stages of the investigation, it was quickly ruled out after confirmation that the girls' wallets, jewelry, money, and credit cards remained still in the car. Autopsies later confirmed that there were no traces of alcohol or drugs in the girls' bodies. The discovery of the bodies of 2 young victims in the trunk of a car shocked the community and sparked a murder investigation that lasted for years, as authorities worked tirelessly to uncover the truth. Behind this tragic and puzzling case, autopsy reports showed that neither girl had been sexually assaulted before their death, ruling out the possibility that the crime was sexually motivated. However, more than 2 months later, the State Crime Lab issued a report indicating that there were traces of unknown semen on JB's bra, underwear, and skin. The fingerprint recovered from the chest lid also remains unidentified, with no match in the system and no one to compare the evidence to. Authorities had nothing left to go on as news of the double murder of 2 teenage girls spread like wildfire. Authorities tried to gather information by offering rewards, but did not discover any new leads. However, they soon had an unexpected breakthrough on September 1st, exactly 1 month after JB and Tracy's bodies were found. A longtime Ozark resident, 28-year-old Johnny William Barentine, walked into the Ozark Police Department to tell a bizarre story. Barentine testified that on the night of the murder, at the same time Tracy Hollett called her mother from the payphone at the Big Little store, he went out to buy milk for his 2-year-old son. He claimed that when he went outside, he witnessed the horrific act. Barentine said he returned home at 1 a.m., visibly upset, and told his wife that he had been hit by a black truck near Herring Road. In the days following the murders of JB and Tracy, when Barentine shared this information with some of his friends, they convinced him that he should go to the police with this information, as it could, in connection with the murder, and potentially earn him a reward. What's disturbing is that during a 4-hour interview with Ozark police, Barentine changed his story 6 times. According to then Ozark Police Chief Tony R. Spivey, Barentine initially said that on the night of the murder, he saw a black truck speeding away from the area where the girls were found. However, as the interview continued, his story continued to develop and change. Finally, he claimed that he picked up a man with tattoos whom he did not know, and the two drove to the Big and Small store, where the man got in the car with two girls, who Barentine identified the Dothan teens as deceased. He said they stopped on Herring Avenue, where the man forced the girls out of the car. A struggle occurred between the men and the girls as they tried to flee, and Barentine claimed he saw something in the man's hand just before hearing two gunshots. When the men returned, Barentine said he gave the man another ride away from the scene and then went home. In another version, Barentine admitted to investigators that he knew the man he picked up and drove away, and identified him as his neighbor. What's alarming is that Barentine himself lives less than a mile from where police discovered the body. Ozark police did not believe his story and named him the prime suspect in the murders of J.B. Beasley and Tracy Hollett. They arrested Barentine on the spot, charging him with 2 counts of murder. However, there are some problems with Barentine's account. He never mentioned any sexual activity involving the semen found on JB's clothes and body. Additionally, the neighbor he implicated had an alibi for the evening. Some also noted that Barentine looked startled and like he had just woken up from a deep sleep in his mugshot shortly after his arrest. Barentine immediately admitted that he had fabricated the entire story to get the reward money. Despite these problems, police at the time believed they had arrested the right man. During a preliminary hearing on September 21st, Alabama Bureau of Investigation agent Charles Huggins testified that Barentine was able to describe the girl's clothing and other items consistent with the crime, suggesting he was present at the scene. Barentine was being held without bond at the Dale County Jail in Ozark, and during his bail hearing on October 18th, he denied his participation in the murders. During a bond hearing on October 18th, Barentine denied his involvement in the murder, admitting to the judge that he had never picked up a man with tattoos and had not seen anything that night. Murder occurred. He claimed that he simply went to the store around 11 p.m. to get milk for his young son and then made up the whole story to claim the reward. However, he was denied bail and sent back to prison. Even during these tumultuous times, Barentine's family members continued to support him. They gave interviews to the media, affirming his innocence and saying he was incapable of hurting anyone. Barentine's attorney, Bill Kimmins, also asserted that his client was not responsible for the double murder in any way, shape, or form. Kimmins added that 4 hours of continuous interrogation took a toll on Barentine, who entangled himself in this mess of lies during police questioning. He was never told that he could go to the bathroom or was free to leave whenever he wanted. Barentine's defense also pointed to the fact that he had only completed 7th grade and part of 8th grade, suggesting he was incapable of planning this heinous crime. Barentine was finally released from prison on December 17, 1999, after it was revealed that his DNA did not match DNA from semen found on JB's body and clothing. In January 2000, a Dale County grand jury declined to indict Barentine and declared him a suspect in this double murder. After Johnny Barentine was cleared of suspicion, the investigation suffered setbacks, and the methods used by investigators were criticized. Murmurs began that Ozark police were incapable of handling the case. However, police are still keeping an eye on a number of potential suspects. One of the most likely suspects is a man from Michigan who attended a party the night of the murder near where JB's car was later found. Investigators discovered that the man, who was not publicly named, left town within days of the murder. They even went to Michigan 3 times to interview him, because he couldn't account for his 3 or 4 hours on the night of the murder, and later made a number of suspicious statements to everybody. However, the police refused to elaborate on these alleged statements, and he was also later ruled out thanks to DNA testing. Another key lead that police are pursuing in the early stages of the investigation is the driver of a small white pickup truck. Video surveillance cameras inside the Big Little store captured grainy, poor-quality images of what appeared to be a small white pickup truck at the gas station at the same time JB and Tracy were calling their mother Tracy. Unfortunately, no digital trail could be traced, as there was no record of gasoline purchases at the pump at the time. The video does not show anyone getting out of the truck, nor does it clearly show the driver. After releasing a photo of the truck to the media a month into the investigation, police appealed to the public for information, but both the driver and the truck disappeared into thin air, and leads faded. Gradually. Investigators' final lead was a man from Mississippi who was extradited from Jones County on an outstanding warrant for possession of drug paraphernalia issued in Ozark. The man had been staying with relatives in Ozark but left 2 days after the murder. According to Spivey, investigators wanted to question him in connection with the case, but no important information came out, and they were forced to let him go. In March 2000, a woman called police and said she heard screaming and 2 gunshots near Highway 123 South, just within city limits, on the night of July 31st, 1999. Asked why she didn't report sooner, she said she was afraid to participate. Based on her description, the police thoroughly searched the area and discovered a 9mm bullet, the same type used to kill the girls. However, the brand of the bullet did not match the brand of the bullet casing found on Tracy's body, and the unspent bullet also had no traces that could help forensics compare it with other evidence in the case, leading to a possible another dead end for investigators. Although several leads over the years have proven to lead nowhere, investigators have never lost hope in finding a DNA match. As JB and Tracy's heartbroken families try to move on with their lives, the case goes cold. Then, years later, another twist in the case adds another layer to the thrilling mystery. In 2015, Rena, a sworn Ozark auxiliary police officer, came forward and publicly accused an Ozark police officer of killing JB Beasley and Tracy Hollett, among others, to cover up the murder. Rena alleges that on the night of July 31st, 1999, an Ozark police officer stopped JB Beasley, demanding to know the whereabouts of several cassette tapes containing recorded conversations. According to Rena, these tapes could incriminate Ozark police officers in the illegal business of distributing and profiting cocaine. The incident escalated into the murder of 2 innocent teenagers, she claimed. Rena also alleged that she was threatened. Rena, a sworn Ozark auxiliary police officer, came forward in 2015 and publicly accused an Ozark police officer of killing JB Beasley and Tracy Hollett, alleging that others were involved to cover up the incident. Rena named 3 police officers, Gary Butch Whittington, Rex Tipton, and Eddie Henderson, accusing them of harassing and threatening her. She also claimed that then Police Chief Tony Spivey, who was in charge of the original investigation, helped cover it up. However, Rena avoided revealing the name of the police officer who she said actually committed the murder. Famous American journalist and newspaper editor John B. Carroll wrote an article stating that he believed that the police officer in question had assumed that the 2 girls intended to use these tapes in a session. Court was scheduled for August 2nd, 1999, less than 48 hours after their arrest. Murdered. Carroll also said that Rena was brutally beaten with a baseball bat after coming forward, which prevented her from naming the real killer. The law enforcement officials Rena accused all denied having any involvement in the murders of J.B. Beasley and Tracy Hollett. Without any physical evidence, none of them were ever officially named as suspects in the case. However, the allegations exploded on multiple true crime websites and social networks, leading to a defamation lawsuit on January 29, 2016. Keith Coffin, Rex Tipson, Tony Spivey, Eddie Henderson, and Gary Butch Whittington, all Ozark, Alabama police officials, filed suit against Rena Crum, John B. Carroll, and Dean Matthews for slander and defamation of character. The case was dismissed in 2018. In May 2016, Rena Crum received a suspended sentence and a $250 fine after being convicted of harassing J.B. Beasley's sister for several years. Authorities investigated many theories, interviewed hundreds of people, and took DNA samples from several suspects, but to no avail. It took 20 years and the innovation of new DNA technology for police to arrest the suspect. In March 2019, investigators sent DNA found on JB's body and clothing to Virginia-based Parabon Nanolabs, which specializes in DNA phenotyping and genetics using genealogical databases. Public system. After DNA analysis, the lab finally found a connection to the suspect, 45-year-old Coley McCraney. McCraney, an Alabama native who graduated from Carroll High School in Ozark in 1992, where he was an athlete and president of the Library Club, was never on the radar of investigators into the case. Brutal 1999 murders of J.B. Beasley and Tracy Hollett until DNA implicated him in the crime. After serving in the United States Air Force from 1993 to 1997, McCraney has been a lifelong truck driver and has had no criminal record for about 20 years. In recent years, he co-founded a church and served as its bishop. At the time of the murder, McCraney was about 26 years old and lived on Lisenby Drive in Ozark, about a mile from where the bodies of J.B. Beasley and Tracy Hollett were found in 1999. 2 decades after the high school student's murdered student found, Coley McCraney arrested after traffic stop in Daleville, Alabama on March 19, 2019. In an interview with police after his arrest, McCraney said he did not know the girls. Investigators did not clarify any motive for the killing. News of his arrest came as a huge shock to the Ozark community and Ozark Police Chief Marlins Walker, who went to school with McCraney, as it appeared that many of the twisted threads in this puzzling case were tied together. However, there is still one more revelation. Rena Crum, now 53, who previously accused the Ozark Police Department of covering up the murder, recanted her accusations when she testified in a hearing in August 2022. McCraney, now 49, is facing charges, facing 5 counts of murder for the shooting deaths of J.B. Beasley and Tracy Hollett. He is currently behind bars in the Dale County Jail, and his bond has been denied, pending an April 17, 2023 trial. The news that the killer has finally been caught is a comfort to the families of both girls, but reliving all the haunting memories through the trial and hearing is another painful journey still ahead. We can only hope that the families can restore a sense of peace when their daughters finally receive justice more than 2 decades later. Do you believe McCraney is responsible for the murder? If so, what do you think is the motive? And do you find any merit in the police cover-up claims? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. Remember to subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell to stay updated on the latest cases in the True Crime Stories series. Be the first to get updates on dramatic and thrilling crime stories.